The beautiful valley of Kashmir, ringed by snow-capped mountains and Pir Panjal range, endowed with abundance of forest and rich flora and fauna, they offer a very promising field for archaeological research in order to understand the long process of transition from a very early primitive food gathering stage to the well settled agro pastoral communities. As per the location of Kashmir Valley, its geological and other importance, I can say the geo-environmental importance, the importance of valley has never been recognized and not been included in the university curriculum as well as in the school textbook, because this is the place, region, which played very important role in making the cultural and historical process of different epochs. The topic is the archaeological research in Kashmir as viewed in Nilmat Puran, and the concept is Kali Yuga. And what I found that my fieldwork is based on the period, which was the period of Ghor Kali Yuga, because that time, 85 to 97, it was a top militancy, and we had to suspend, wind up our fieldwork due to insurgency. And what I can say that on the basis of my fieldwork, before 5,000 years, Kashmir was more beautiful than today, with abundance of forest, with rich flora and fauna, very simmering lakes and the gurgling rivers, and other aspect of natural, these things, craft and art and craft. But it was overexploited for the comfort of man. Exploitation of forest, exploitation of flora and fauna, and so many things. And as a result, what I say that the Ghor Kali Yuga, that means that with the passage of time, most of the intellectual class of Kashmir were evicted from that place. They migrated from that place. And one of the speaker like Colonel, you have very right that most of the Chanukyas were also evicted from the valley. And now I will start from that. That was the period of the, you can say that the Kali Yuga. The beautiful valley of Kashmir, ringed by snow-capped mountains and Pir Panjal range, endowed with abundance of forest and rich flora and fauna, they offer a very promising field for archaeological research in order to understand the long process of transition from a very early primitive food gathering stage to the well settled agro pastoral communities based on the food production. The most of the archaeological sites in the valley are generally found on the elevated parts of Karewa terraces. Karewa is a local term. They speak as a Udyar, that is a sedimentary clay, approximately 100 to 200 meter above the valley floor. The valley floor is built of consolidated lake sediments and alluvial soils. Various high quality of crops and plants are grown in the fertile soil of Karewas, that is just like saffron, and you can say that all these saffron, most of these almond, walnut, orchards, so many things. The earliest settlers of Kashmir, largely hunters, seems to have been attracted by the rich natural resources and the commanding heights, terraces of the Karewa deposits, the terraces, because the environmental setting was quite exciting. They offered the forest, the rich variety of tools, raw material for making tools, lakes, all these fish and fowls. Settlements in the valley continued to flourish through the millennia, resulting in emergence of new lifestyles and artistic sensibilities unique to in the region. The artistic instincts of the people of the valley was stimulated by natural splendor in which their lives were imbued with creative skills. Indeed, there has been a physical and there has been a very harmonious blending of both physical and cultural environment by which the fascinating remains of prehistoric and historic sites and works of art of varied nature flourished in the valley through the ages. Now the question comes how and when these such human activities began in the valley. There are multiple sources ranging from geological studies to literary evidences and even the local legends that help to answer these questions through archaeological research. So I will start from the literary evidence. The cost in the mythology, one of the earliest accounts of the origin of Kashmir Valley, is found in 6th century Sanskrit work, the Nilmat Puran. It begins with the interesting legend according to which the entire valley was a vast lake known as Satisar. Sati is the consort of Parvati. That was the lake of Sati. The lake was shelter of a water demon named Jalodbhav, and he was a havoc of the local persons, the tribes, till the Lord Vishnu assumed the form of Bor, Barah, avatar, and struck the mountains at Baramula and opened up for the water to flow out. There is another reference in the Nilmat Puran that the Nagas, the inhabitants of the mountain regions, being the main victims of water demon, prayed to sage Kashyap for the deliverance of his oppression. Since the demon was invincible within the water, his elements, the sage, did great penance and was thus able to secure divine intervention. Kalan's Rajatrangani mentioned that Prajapati Kashyap was assisted by Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva in killing the water demon. After his death, the lake water was drained out and the land came to be known as Kashmir after Kashyap. Alternatively, this name can be derived from the two words, the local Kashmiri word Ka or Simir. Ka means water, Simir means desiccations. There are various Mahatmas which provide important information on various tirthas, springs, waters, mountains, rivers, besides various forms of the mother goddesses in the valley. However, the most popular literary reference with Mahatma is praise of goddess Sarika, the prominent form of goddess Durga. It was an interesting legend regarding the lake and its desiccation. The narrative emphasized that the water demon brought havoc to the people residing in the periphery of the lake. The inhabitant of the valley prayed to the goddess Durga for deliverance of the oppression of the water demon. Goddess Durga took the form of a bird, Mana. Mana, or the local language, they say is a hare, is a Mana word. And the, the bird carried a pebble in beak and dropped it over the spot where demon used to stay. The pebble grew in size and transformed into a gigantic hill, thereby crushing the demon under its weight. As such, this hill is popularly known as Hare Parvat. The correct form is the Hari Parvat. It's a Hare Parvat. And this is also, which is also a Sarika hill, after the goddess Sarika. Sarika is also here in Kashmiri language. With this, Kashmir came to into existence. On the top of the hill is the famous shrine of goddess Sarika. So geological, this is the literary evidence, and this has helped us, even not only to us also, because when the Kashmir Paleoclimatic Project was taken up there, what we found that due to so many climatic transformations, geological transformations, tectonic effects, the Pir Panjal, all these ranges effects, that has adversely affected the settled way of life for the hunter-gatherers. So accordingly, it was felt necessity to have a multidisciplinary study. And that multidisciplinary study should be of the composite team. And that was initiated by Professor D.P. Agarwal from Physical Research Lab. And it also constituted archaeologists, geologists, Geological Survey of India, even the Baba Atomic Research also. So they also found that there is coincident with the whatever written in the Linvat Puran and also with the geological transformations in the valley that took place in the valley. Even the geological studies, especially the fossils found in the valley, also confirm that it was once a vast lake, vestiges of which can be seen in a number of small lakes, besides the famous Dal Lake, Wular Lake, Nagin Lake, and other so many lakes in the valley. There is also a general consensus among the geologists that the rise of the Pir Panjal range was responsible for impounding the premier drainage, Himalayan drainage, giving rise to the vast lake. As Pir Panjal continued to rise, the Karewa Lake shrank and shifted towards Himalayan flank because there are two flanks. One is the Pir Panjal, then the Himalayan side, where the Kashmir Valley, and that touches up to the Zanskar range also. And at some stage, that Jhelum River emerged from a fault near Baramulla and drained out the lake. Because I'm just giving you a very simple way. So after the lake had drained out, the exposed land became suitable for habitation, and most of the rock shelters, caves, and other seasonal camps of the hunter-gatherers gave way to the earliest structures in the form of dwelling pits for the purpose for their permanent settlement. The food gatherers who had settled down in the valley effectively started growing some cereals and plants around their immediate living environment and started domestication of animals, cultivation of crops like wheat, barley, lentil, millets that provided sustenance for a settled way of life. This is a very precise way. As far as the archaeological evidence is concerned, the first field investigation to understand the cultural remains and geological formation of the Kashmir Valley was undertaken by Ditera and Patterson Titi from Yale University, and during their pioneer investigation in 1935, they discovered the site Burjham. That was, during that time they could not, because the Neolithic site were not dated, so they correlated this thing with the Mesopotamia. But anyway, whatever they found in Burjham, that has paved the way for the future archaeological investigation in the valley about the stratigraphy and also about the cultural remains. But unfortunately, for 2 decades, no work could be resumed. And that was only taken up when the state archaeology department, because Kashmir state archaeology was a very rich department. Most of the superintendent of they became the prime minister of Kashmir, like R.C. Kak. Then Mr. Khajanchi was also that time there. And that in 1959, the State Department of Archaeology was merged with the central government, Central Archaeological Department, along with staff and the building in Lal Mandi. And then just to start for the promotion of monuments and also to promote archaeological research, the Burjham was excavated extensively from 1960 to 71. And along with Burjham, that time Mr. T.N. Khajanchi, who was the superintendent, because what I will speak there was injustice with Mr. Khajanchi, because T.N. Khajanchi was told that he was to be absorbed in ASI one post ahead, but he was not accommodated within post because that was something as you can say something, a diplomatic Chanakya Niti, as you told. So he also discovered that time maximum prehistoric sites and excavated these things. And accordingly, whatever that site also Burjham, that revealed the threefold cultural sequence of Neolithic, beginning with the Aceramic, ceramic Neolithic, megalithic, and historical. And the most characteristic is that there was a cultural continuity right from that period to the historical without any gap. And he also, that was the very pioneering study because the Burjahom was the only site which revealed about the metallurgy, about the plant remains, about the floral fauna, all aspects, spinning, weaving, all the items were recovered from the excavations, and that paved the way for future research. Even that the first I can say that the archaeological investigation, according when the Burjahom was doing, we were also trying to find the earlier stages. So in that direction, the interesting that investigation about the Paleolithic culture in the valley was first initiated by S.T. Sankalia in 1969 from Deakin College, and he recorded a massive flake of crude handex from the Flavo-glacial deposits at Pahalgaon in Lidar Valley, datable to Middle Pleistocene. Although that time it was considered the oldest in Asia, but later on it was, as per the Himalayan chronology, it was correlated with the mid-Pleistocene. The geologist also confirmed the finding of Sankalia and suggested that during the early Pleistocene, due to further rise of Pir Panja Lake, the lake shrank and shifted towards Himalayan flank. As a result, some elevated portion of land was exposed. The tectonic uplift had raised the lake sediments to provide land for animal and plants, thus providing environmental compatibility to the hunter-gatherers to survive and evolved. And as I told you earlier that we felt necessity to have a multidisciplinary study. In 1980-81, Kashmir Paleoclimatic Research Project was initiated, and they took the disciplinary study in the valley of the mapping of the Karewa deposits, also the climatic changes, also sequence of from Pliocene to Pleistocene. The team not only confirmed the finding of this Sankalia, but also found pebble tools at Ballapura and Suknak on the Pir Panjal range, because the valley floor was, since that was lake, so they could not found. In Ballapura also they found some pebble tools, and also in Suknak some blade stones study, and that was the period of some, you can say that some palosols, all the changes, and that is dated up to the palosols were dated up to 18,000 BP. And that time it was found that the climate was suitable and the human settlement thrived in the valley. But unfortunately, that microlithic industry could not be continued, and we did not find. Even when the lake has further fell down, the Paleolithic sites characterized by some blade industries were also found near Sombor, in very close to Pulwama, Pampore. And that was just like a factory site. So many blades, about more than 100 tools were found. And these tools also indicate that they were just evolving as a tool maker. But unfortunately, we did not find any epipaleolithic site, because what paleoclimatic research found that about, you can say that 1200 to 9,000 BP period, there was a very cold period, there was excessive rain, and most of the shelters or that area must have been washed away due to climatic ravages. But certainly the higher reaches, another aspect is that higher reaches of the valley could not be surveyed extensively due to insurgency. And just to, in order to understand that transition gap between the 18,000 BP to the Aceramic period of the Neolithic, the earliest in Borjom, so that gap could not be mapped due to insurgency, and the high reaches of Himalaya could not be surveyed. But what we observed, that time we made a preliminary survey along with the geologists and other things. We found that the Burjahom area is very important, the geomorphology of Burjahom, and very close to Burjahom, that connect with the Dachigram area. And Dachigram is a very new name given by the Maharaja. It was a hunting ground of ruler of Maharaja. In 1910, Dachi means 10 villages. Those 10 villages were relocated in order to make the national park, because that is the area which is very approachable to Burgaon, and that provide most of the birch trees also there. The Kashmiri stag is there. They are getting all types of tools, lithic tools, all the infrastructures. And second peculiar feature of this Dachigram is that this Dagwan Nala, that originate from the upper reaches of Dachigram, and that flow all along the Burjham, that drain, and that Dagwan Nala drains the Dal Lake. The 50% of the drainage is from the Dagwan Nala. And that Dagwan Nala, again, that is another, they shifted by the Maharaja of the Kashmir. They make some reservoir at Harwan just to provide a clean water of that Dagwan Nala, because I name it as a Dagwan Valley. And its location is also favorable, because you can approach from the Leader Valley, where Sankalia found the Paleolithic tools. You can approach from Leader Valley. You can come from Burjham. It is from Harwan. It is also from the Sombor, where we found that blade industry. But unfortunately, why it was not surveyed? Because it was declared as a prohibited area. Once that was because due to exploitation of many of the flora fauna. So that was totally exploited, and it was declared as a prohibited area. And it has a very dense forest, and it is having all sort of, you can say, natural resources. And what I can say that right from the prehistoric period to up to the Maharaj time, it was basically hunting ground for all the rulers and these things. So what I found that this area needs to be surveyed very thoroughly, and certainly if we have a multidisciplinary approach, and there certainly we can have, because this is with the forest department, and one can have in consultation with forest research institutions and also with other agencies, if it is surveyed properly and excavated all the outskirts of this Dagwan Nala Valley, it will certainly provide a complete sequence of Paleolithic culture as it was found in Son Valley, because the geological transformations and all these things are very favorable. Even the Kashmir's location is favorable. It is connecting to West Asia, all through the Uri and that Gurez Valley also. But if you travel all along this Leh, Ladakh, and that connects with Ladakh and also with the Yarkand, Samarkand, also with the Central Asia. Right from the beginning also, we found so many material, cultural material. Even the Kashmir also, we found a lot of things of the material of the Burjham and Gufkaral, very close, and their similarity with the Saraikhola, similarity with the Tibetan plateau and caravan that was excavated in this area also. So many things are there also. So secondly, what I would like to suggest that the excavations, all these periods, all these sites, because we explored about 50 sites, and out of 50 sites, only 4 sites were excavated, like Burjham, Gufral in large, extensive way, then also Kanishpura, and also in Malpur in Bathera. And these sites needs further excavations, some other sites also, because these sites throw light on the pioneering farmers and the pastoral tribes. And not only these farmers and pastorals, they played very important role for providing a very solid framework for the economic and cultural progress of the society. And next point is that as per the location of Kashmir Valley, its geological and other importance, I can say the geo-environmental importance, the importance of valley has never been recognized and not been included in the university curriculum as well as in the school textbook, because this is the place, region, which played very important role in making the cultural and historical process of different epochs. And that even the role of all the farmers and the pastoral tribes has not been properly studied. And what I will suggest that on the basis of this needs a further study, because due to insurgency, the situation was not prevailing, but now it is favorable, and I hope that in near future, because Kashmir University, in collaboration of that, they will do that things. And whatever in Burjahom, all these things, even the very preliminary level, that time, these scientific studies were not available, facilities were not available for the study of plant remains. Even now they are doing in collaboration with BSIP and also with some Sydney University in Australia, and they identified more plants also. And the millet is also found there, and the dating has gone back also up to 5,000 BP also. And we found also metallurgy also, like the copper, iron, all these things. But that time the team, they were not having the metallurgical experts, so they directly correlated with the Harappans. Even the beads were found there. So what I found that the beads were also like Côte d'Ivoire pot was found, the influence of Côte d'Ivoire, all these things. So the beads were exchanged with the wooden blocks of Kashmir, because the wood, the timber was in great demand in the Harappan land. And they were exporting the raw material timbers, and they were transporting it to Mesopotamia and Greek on a very high scale by making furniture, musical instruments, and so many things. And the Jhelum River was the mesh channel directly from that area up to the Murshidabad, and even from Chenab also you will be transporting all the wooden blocks to Harappan lands. And there is, I think that there are so many things in Kashmir to explore, because what we found that we found the cultural continuity from prehistoric to present, except some Mesolithic gap. And although that Mesolithic is also a misnomer in respect of Kashmir, because its application is very limited, because this name is coined by Europeans in also Southeast Asia. Otherwise, it is a period between the upper Paleolithic and the Neolithic. But in Kashmir, in Burjahom, we found the Aceramic, but prior to Aceramic, very prior to Aceramic, immediately that food gathering stage has not been dated. So there are so many gaps which needs to be done in future. So with these words, I conclude.